everyone. Jeff, you want to do us? Kick us
Go
off?
ahead. I thought you were going to be going. Go ahead.
Welcome everybody to tonight's day 3 of the Ignite Summit, Elevate Summit 2026. We've had record numbers of people registered during this week. We've never had this many people. So if you're watching us for the first time tonight, thank you so much for that. We do appreciate you being here and joining us. And we've got an exciting night. And I want to jump right into it because I want to be respectful of everyone that's joining us. And I'm going to let Jeff kind of take the lead on this one tonight. So Jeff?
All right. It was a great day. We had some great stuff. So thank you guys. Yes, I'm going to be jumping off a little bit early. So you just want me to review a little bit what I've talked about, James?
Yeah. You can start off with that.
Sure thing. So what I had an opportunity to talk about is I was talking about as a high school student, really, identifying who you are. There's so many of our young students and stuff that don't have that identity, and talking about creating that future self. Now, when I say that, not saying I know exactly what I'm going to be when I grow up, I know exactly what my career, but more of who you are, who is that you identify as, and kind of your values and who you want to be. Because I really think it's a big focus on what we can do that helps us get through a lot of things. Because I think there's we've got so many things that we look at. I remember all through school, I'm a terrible speller. I identified as a terrible speller my whole life. And, we've got people saying I'm bad at math. I'm only valuable if I'm an athlete. We identify as those things. And as we speak those things to ourselves, we really believe them. And that is who we become. And so my message was more around helping these students really identify who they want to become, who that future self is that they want to be. Not that I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a plumber, whatever that is. But regardless of where your career in life takes you, who do you want to be? And I think that's something really important for these youth to start thinking about and start acting as if they are that person and becoming that person who they want to become.
So what was the catalyst that caused you to say this is where my passion is right now to share this? Was there something you saw, something you're encountering?
It's a lot. I try to do it with myself. Try to, it was actually a lot comes down to 2 books I read, one by Richie Norton, one by Benjamin Hardy, that both talked about acting from your future self rather than trying to act the way you want to be so that eventually you can become a certain person. Start acting as if you're that person now so that you can be that person now and grow into that position. And I think I talked a little bit about my situation where during the pandemic, I had to shut down a company that I'd been running for 16 years and the impact that had on my personal identity. And, these high school and junior high students and stuff, they're at such a critical part of their life. And, as adults, we look at some of these things that are so big to them and, tearing them apart thinking that's not a big deal, but it is to them. And when they can start identifying as their future self and acting as that person, acting as it doesn't matter if I'm not on the sports team, I am important, I'm valuable. It doesn't matter right now what this grade is. I am working hard in math. I am going to be a good math student, regardless of what that grade is. It really has an impact on their self-identity and how they value themselves.
I see that a lot with one of my children who, I have one of the 2 that are already out of school. I have one that has known, gosh, I don't know, maybe since she was 14, what exactly her career and what she wanted to do going forward. She may be actually watching or be watching this tonight, so I need to be careful. She's very focused, knew what she was doing. The other child that's out, it's been a lot about the success and failures that they've had both at sports and academics that have changed their view of who they are, changed their view of what they wanted to become, and they've fed into themselves a lot of times, oh, I'm not good at school, which is completely wrong because the testing that they have, the official thing, That particular child is the smartest one of the three, but yet consistently tells themselves the story, I'm not good at this, and then lives up to what they're saying about themselves. So this
Yeah.
is something very, very important. What do you guys think about what Jeff spoke about today?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's spot on. And I'm kind of curious, Jeff, to hear kind of how like you got to like understand those beliefs, because it's like it makes sense now in your spot or in my spot, like it's like, oh duh, like those are the beliefs that I had. But then as a youth, as a young adult, as an adult, like how did you get awareness of those beliefs? Was it like a coach reflecting those back to you? Was it parents? Was it friends? Was it a book? You mentioned a couple of books, so just kind of curious to hear what were those influences that made you like reflect on, oh, these are the beliefs that I had, or these are the beliefs that I see in other students.
Yeah, you know what? I would say kind of the catalysts that triggered it for me were those two books from Richie Norton and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. But a lot of it is going through those experiences. And, it's always, man, I wish I would have known this back when I was in high school, right? And it is, they're in such a critical point of their life that they probably don't realize now, that if they could, you don't know what you don't know. And if you can just shift your thinking and realize, and that's what I love about this summit, this whole thing is helping them shift their thinking, helping them look at things differently, with all our messages. And I think if we can give them the ability just to look at one thing differently, it could be the catalyst that changes their whole trajectory of where they're going in life. And for me personally, there's a lot of different things that I've done in my life that I've been able to look at and say, here's the lessons I've learned from it. Here's what I wish I would have done differently. Here's what I did good and whatnot. And like I talked about, that includes all the way up to my current age when I had to shut down that company and the impact it had on my personal identity at that point. And like I mentioned in there, for an event like that to have an identity crisis for someone 50 years old, you can imagine what these personal crises these kids are going through, how hard of a identity crisis they're going through. And so when you can plan ahead of time, when you can go into one of these issues they're facing already thinking, I'm acting as if I'm already this person who I want to be, you're able to handle those things a lot better.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I was going to say how this is so interconnected, connected with the identity piece that you mentioned, identity formation in adolescence, and that is developmentally where they're at. And the shift in perspective, or the changing the lens through which we see identity formation and what adolescence is, what's typical, I feel lost, and what is when it crosses over into something that's of a concern. But I think the way we see life is we see it through the lens of our own experience, right? Yeah. So the kids, they're seeing their life, who they are, through the lens of their family and their peers, right? And that's like they're measuring. That's where they measure a lot of things through the power of peer relationships. That's why who you are around can directly impact your self-esteem. So like when Jeff says, be the person you want to be them now. Move like you are already confident. Put yourself in places where those people hang out and be really intentional about that. That's actually and that'll cross over to what I'll talk about in a minute, which that's prevention work. That's let's build you up kind of work, right? So it's really cool how all these topics sort of blend together.
They really do. And I agree with that. And you know what? all of this comes down to the conversations these kids are having in their head. They're talking to themselves about,
Yep.
oh, like I said, I'm bad at math. They keep telling themselves that, and they're going to be bad at math. They're going to live up to it, right? And so when they can identify who they want to become, and they can start having that conversation of who they are, and that's what I talked about. Who are you, and who is your future self? And that's what I meant is, it's not who is your future self as a job, but who is your future self.
Right.
And when you're telling yourself that over and over and talking about that, you know, one of the tips I gave was that 60 seconds of reflection. I use visualization every night. And when you can visualize who you want to be and who you identify as, then it's huge.
Yeah. And then also to decide that I get to choose that. Like, I get to have the final say of who I want to become. And sometimes with these kids, it's because they might not know all that we're not our job, right? And we do know like what we don't want to be. Like, I know where I don't want to be end up, right? Like, I know I don't want to be like them. So that kind of steers them too. And like, you'll figure it'll come together like piece by piece, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, because a couple of things I want to add on there is like, and it's not just like, you know, teens and early 20s that these are important to. Like last week, you know, so I'm volunteer tutoring and teaching here at an organization, and it's like adults who maybe have immigrated here or are maybe went through the schooling system but didn't get their diploma, so they're getting their GED, etc. And it's like we went through this. I think last week was the first class, and it's like those beliefs we kind of like listed them out, and like it was exactly what you said. It's like I'm not good at math. You know, it's a math class, so it's like I'm not good at math. I hate math. I hate functions. I hate equations. Like I don't do numbers. I don't do money. Like all these beliefs, and so I just want to iterate that it's like it's a lifelong thing, like you're saying, Jeff. And the other point I want to, I guess, bring up here is like with like social media, it's like it just throws lots of variables in here where it's like there's a quote that I heard. It's like there's like you're three people. Like there's who you think you are, then there's who others think you are, and then who you actually are. And so it's like, and so I feel like social media is like a projection of who you want to be or who you think you are. But then there's like your actual actions and like what do you do like, in private or in public. But like, and like, so it's kind of like reconciling as a teenager, as a young adult. It's like figuring out, it's like, all right, am I actually the person who's posting this? Am I actually the person who's engaging in this conversation like authentically? Or am I like trying to be seen in a certain way? So like, because I've been having to unlearn a lot of those things as well. So thanks for like bringing those up.
Thank you.
Any final comments on those? Well, since you, Amy, since you kind of led us into yours anyway, as you said, it kind of transitions into yours. Let's go to yours. And for those of you, for our guests, people should know who Jeff and I are if they've been a part of the summit before. If you guys wouldn't mind introducing yourselves as you present, as well as you talk about what your presentation is, that would be helpful for our group. But Amy, we'll jump to you next.
Okay, let's jump in. Buckle up, friends. My name is Amy Kathleen Lee. I am a lot of different things. I'm still kind of figuring out who I am. No. I'm a suicide intervention specialist and trainer. I've been doing this work in mental health and suicide prevention for over 10 years. And I'm a speaker. Obviously, I'm a speaker. I love speaking. I can't stop talking half the time. And I'm also a parent of a teen who's navigated, mental health stuff from an eating disorder to suicide to a suicide attempt, and then recently another overdose. And so I'm in it, like right now. As I speak on this topic to parents, to educators, to everyone willing to listen, like this is the stuff that unfortunately if we don't start talking about it, we're never going to see anything change until we shift how we see, say, suicide, right? Or substance abuse. We start to see change when we see those differently. And in my talk called Louder Than Likes, the feelings that can lead to suicide, it directly speaks to the things that we can see happening to our youth. Those are the symptoms. And what's really happening is what's beneath the surface of their life. And I use the analogy of filters because that's kind of the language we're in right now, right? Like and subscribe. And this is now like and subscribe is this really artificial way to say that we're connected. That's not real connection, right? And this reality now of where we're posting, like showing up, there's filters. We show the good, right? We show the strong, just like we talked about how people see us. When in reality, there's so much more going on in our lives, and that's what I believe is driving this crisis that we see in youth. And in my talk, I speak about what does someone need when they've come to the place where I don't want to be here anymore. Like, and to not overdiagnose, too, because I think we have to be really careful as mental health professionals. I'm in grad school and I'm actually a clinical intern at an eating disorder treatment center right now. And I think we just have to be really careful about labeling life struggles as mental health conditions. I think what we're seeing is the human experience play out right before us. And instead of responding like with just action plans, which I've taught action plans for the past 10 years, and they're really important. Like, you do have to know what to do. But let's go one step further. Let's go a little bit deeper and ask ourselves, who do we need to become? Who do I need to be to make this world a better, more safer, more compassionate place for my daughter, for her friends, for all of our youth? And it's not about fixing. And Jeff and I James and I had such a great conversation on the podcast about we just want to fix it. Like, and because I'm wearing a Wonder Woman t-shirt, for crying out loud. Like, that was a coincidence. But it's kind of, yeah, like, give me something to do, because I care so deeply and so passionately about our youth. Give me something to do. And again, it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. But if we want to go one step further, it's like, who can we be? We need to be that person again that can say, and I say that in my talk, I say, I'm not going anywhere. When the dark gets really dark, when the pain gets really loud, and we don't have to have it all figured out. But what we do know is that we're not walking through this alone. So that's sort of the gist of what I shared. And I encourage people to go back to that podcast. Again, we got some really great stuff for parents and for teens to hear. That when you're radically seen, I mean, like the version of you that barely gets out of bed and gets a shower, right? The version that we don't want to show the rest of the world, that version. We'll show them the strong version, but it's the version of us that when you radically see, like, for example, when my daughter is her most depressed, right? And it's like moving hurts. That version of her isn't any less amazing than the one that goes out and does his different accomplishments, right? Like, so I try to be very strength-based in my approach to prevention and in my conversations to let's build on what youth already do really well.
I love your heart and passion for this. And as I shared with you when we first connected, this is a topic that's weighed on my heart for quite some time, to find someone who could speak to it in a way that provides solutions and strategies and just opportunity. Because you do want to do something, but you don't know what. So I was so excited about that, and so excited about this opportunity to share. So I just want to thank you for this, because it really hit home for me.
I'm glad. I'm so glad. And I kind of talk about those awkward. It's kind of like season the awkward, lean to the awkward. We kind of have to go beyond our comfort zone to see growth, right? In anything that we do, right? We ask kids, you got to be able to take risks, right? You got to take risks if you want to grow. You got to do opposite to action. You got to get in the gym when you don't feel like getting in the gym, right? Be who you want to be before. That's the same thing in the prevention conversation, right? A lot of there's so many overlaps with youth development and youth training programs and youth advocacy programs. But unfortunately, the mental health piece gets, like I think James said, it's kind of taboo. And, we just, I guess with practice, we can be who we need to be. Like just what Jeff says, decide who you want to be. And is that who we need to be for youth? Absolutely. We need to be those adults that are not going to say, well, just wait till you'll get older. Man, does it get hard. And I'll say that to teens. I'll be like, hey, how do you guys feel when grown-ups tell you that your stress is nothing and that you just wait till you're an adult? They're like, that does not help. That doesn't help. And I said, well, what would help? What would help? And they say, just tell me that you're not going anywhere. And that I am going to get stronger as life throws challenges my way. That's who I want to be. Right? Yeah.
Jeff, I know you got to get off quick. Is there anything you would like to comment on that before you jump off?
One of the things just listening to yours today that I think from our perspective is really knowing how to listen. I thought that was such a big part, because we always want to listen and have the answers, but just being able to listen, I thought that really was key to me.
Yeah, actively listening and not to solve, because one of the things that we've done, I think accidentally, is we overprotect our kids and we don't allow them to hold their own pain because we want to jump in and fix. But unless we allow them to hold their own pain, they'll never be able to heal it. They need to have the capacity to hold pain and to heal. Our job is to come alongside them and show them that that's how life works. This is what we do with suffering. We hold it, we feel it, and we process through it. But it's like, if we're always like action planning them, over action planning them, I'm kind of like, I've really shifted my perspective on, we don't need any more curriculum. We don't need any more curriculum. We've got plenty of curriculum. We need connection.
Ooh.
And I need, and to be able to sit in someone else's pain with them is really difficult if you've never sat with your own. That's where adults start to squirm in their seat.
Right.
So when James and I talked about, what do you want to tell parents? Like, what do parents do? I'm like, grow, man, grow. Do your work, dude. That is suicide prevention for your kids. And parents are like, I don't want to look in the mirror. So many kids, the parents will send their kids to treatment, right? And they're like, fix him. My kid's all messed up. Would you go fix my kid? And I want to be like, oh, honey, 30 days is not going to do that. Like, your kids aren't broken. So there's so much growth, and this is such a big conversation. And you're right, Jeff. I mean, just listening and letting and noticing what's happening in our bodies when we're listening to someone else.
I love don't need more curriculum, need connection. And the very first thing I thought of when you said that is that people are so willing to pay for the curriculum, but they're not willing to put in the time, the effort, or the resources to learn the connection. Any other thoughts from anybody else?
I'll piggyback on what Jeff said. Just listen. That's really what stuck out to me. And I have a question for you, Amy, because you mentioned find what you do well, right?
Yeah.
How often is it that it's hard for these kids to even process and understand what they do well?
Right. Exactly.
Because they think of the negatives so much, like, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not. And so it's like, but they do so many things well. And yeah, so I just want to see, like, from your experience, like, what's that one roadblock that you see a lot?
In that the roadblock to a young person finding who they are
And what they're well at.
What they're well at, what they're good at. I think changing the way we speak about accomplishment and discovery, in a sense that because we're stuck in this like performance culture, right? And so the outcome, we sort of look outside of ourselves for self, instead of inviting youth to go on an inward journey. Because the thing is that their future self already exists. Their DNA is not going to change, right? It's who they're going to be. That's already mapped out. I believe everyone is designed by a higher power. We are designed and we have a map and a purpose for our life. And so our purpose for our life is not to discover what we're supposed to do. It's who are we supposed to be? We're human like beings. And you know, again, there's like this seeking the answers outside of yourself, where there's a balance between like leaning on people and having guides and having coaches, and then connecting our youth to like, what's your intuition? Right? Like, let's get in. What do you guys think? Like, as I look at teens as they're the experts on their life. I am not I might be expert on all this other stuff. But I really encourage, like, what do you think about it? What do you feel? What would you want to see happen? And be able to sit with not knowing. I don't know it yet. I don't know that yet. But I do know what I don't want. Or I do know whatever I've done in the past. I know I don't want that. And sometimes the way only shows itself in one staircase at a time. Like when you're in a staircase, there's only one step. And so sometimes these kiddos will only see the next step and be like, oh my gosh, well, where is this headed? I was like, there you go. Like you're on life's journey. It is so uncertain at times, right? So some of the barriers are just expectation that they have to arrive at who they are at 15. Like how we treat our seniors in high school. So what are you going to do with your life? I don't even know who I am, you know? So yeah, just taking the time with them and letting them to just question. And I have no idea if I even answered your question.
No, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Well, Cass, since you put us in a direction, introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your presentation.
Yes, I am Kaz Langness, and I have the pleasure to, just try to provide this world with impact and value the most that I can. And my presentation was Eat Daily to Excel in Life and Sport, right? And the reason why I say that is because we think about our nutrition. And as athletes who I have the pleasure to work with a lot, you can't put the bad food in your body and expect to perform at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes the same with life. You can't put bad habits, bad principles, bad systems in your life and expect to reach the highest level of yourself. And in order to eat daily to excel, you have to have the right systems in place. You have to have the right habits in place, and you have to instill the right principles. That's going to help you truly excel as an athlete and excel as an individual in this world and excel as a leader in this world. So I found a lot of joy in being able to spread that message and be able to speak on that because it's needed. And it's really simple because we all have a diet. You know, we all have to eat something to survive in this world and in our lives. And I think this is such an easy way to think about what do I want to accomplish in life? Who do I want to be? What do I want my character to be? And what's the integrity I want to live with? And if you eat daily with the right habits, with the right principles, with the right morals and values, you truly are going to be the best version of yourself.
I love the way that you spelled that out with, we knew what each letter meant on there. And putting it on the whiteboard behind you. Was it that whiteboard? No. So, behind you, that it worked out. It spoke to me a lot. The title is what drew me in. When you put eat daily, I was like, okay, what's he talking about? And I got to jump in. So I was anxious. So I love that. What do you guys think about what he was talking about?
As an eating disorder survivor, I've realized that there's different types of hunger. And so food is absolutely, like, we have to fuel our body. And I don't think youth realize that they need food to sustain their body. Like, food is science, like food is fuel. Food is not just fun. But at the same time, like, what they eat, what they take in, you're right. It's like is a direct result. Like, you get performance, you get, the energy that you need. And so, yeah, like, I was a professional dancer when I was a youth, and food and fueling our bodies was a non-negotiable for performance. Dancing 6-7 hours a day, 6 days a week. You burn a lot of calories. And it was always, food was always about performance and sustenance and skills. And then, of course, the eating disorder hijacked all of that. And what's unfortunate about a lot of youth is that they're buying into the diet culture. And have you found that with athletes and performance culture, have you found any barriers for young people that around food and getting fueled and being kind of pulled into the diet culture?
I think the biggest barrier is the education.
Yeah.
As like an athlete, it's so hard at times to know what calories you should take in, when to eat, how, like, especially in the track world, when do I eat before my race? When do I eat before practice? What should I eat, in between my events? Because it's different than other sports. Like, as a football game, basketball game, you have a full 60 or a halftime. But in track, you can do an event and not run for another 2 hours. And you're obviously going to get hungry with that because your body's going through so much. And so I think it's just the education. Yeah, I think the education is hard.
Education, yeah.
Each body is different too, because some people, don't need a whole lot of food. Some people can, like, for me, I can go off of a Celsius, but that's not going to work for everyone.
Right. No, that makes sense.
I tell you what, I also love. I love that how you spelled out daily. All right, help me now, because I'm trying to do it from memory. I know the first one was discipline,
Attitude,
and then there was intentional. What was the A?
Attitude.
Gosh, why did I do that? And then intentional, and then leader, and then you. The daily a part of that and stuff. I was like, that speaks. That
Yeah.
just speaks really well about, that we need to eat daily on these.
Yeah.
What are some other thoughts that you guys have got in there? Are there any comments from anybody that is watching or listening to us?
Yeah, one thing, I guess, question for Kaz is there like any part of that acronym that you are like specifically in a season of right now, like that you're like putting intention on and practicing?
Yeah, I would say leader. I'm trying to lead my life the best that I can, and it looks different at times. Different hats that I wear, call me to lead differently with different individuals. Like I, especially when I'm working with college athletes, sometimes they're not going to be led how they're going to be with the freshmen because we got a different capacity of life. But my own personal life, just leading it the best that I can, and going through the ebbs and flows of life, and understanding that it's not just a linear trajectory of success or growth or anything like that, but being able to embrace the adversity, being able to embrace the challenges, and being able to just understanding like it's not even just about, but it's about different relationships, different endeavors, whatever it may be. And so really just honing in on that leadership skill, because that's something I can grow on each and every single day.
Love it.
Any other thoughts? Well, before we jump in there, I do want to tell folks, hey, it's not too late to sign up. You can still get the last day tomorrow, and we'll have some days where you can watch all of the videos. All the videos will be open, but you got to go to ignitenextgen.com/elevate to get registered now. We've had record number of registrations during this week. We still had a great number today, and we anticipate it continuing tomorrow. So still hang with us. So tell us about who you are, what you do, and tell us about Cringe, man. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, glad to be here. Saivasam, I was an educator, still an educator, but I taught in the classroom last year, and then I'm a life coach, life and career coach for young adults, especially, and I really resonate with working with young adult men and teenage men as well, in that age range, because I can resonate with that transition. And so the talk was from boyhood to manhood, and how cringe is key. And I feel like that's a word that has like come up more and more in youth culture. And it's similar to what we've been talking about here with some of that shame or some of that like sitting with those emotions. And it's like I don't want to be cringe, so I'm gonna like scroll on my phone. I don't want to be cringe, so I'm gonna act like nonchalant, and it's like it's those, and like it's, and one of the big things that I share in there, it's actually like sitting with those emotions. It really just starts with one thing, is what I say, and it really just starts with the breath. It really just starts with just like, can you take one breath, and one intentional breath, and actually like be aware of it, and not have this need and compulsion to like reach for the phone, or like Instagram something, or like need to talk to someone. It's like, can we sit with those emotions? And it takes practice, it takes work to do that, and it's so needed. And so and so that taking that breath is like that bridge to actually sit with and experience those emotions. And then really that emotional capacity is that larger bridge from boyhood to manhood. And so it's not about it's not about the degrees, it's not about the dollars, it's not about relationships from a like a vanity metric standpoint. It's not about all those things. But it's like, can we increase our capacity for those things that can fit in our life, as well as our own emotions? And I think there's a great disservice maybe done in terms of, it's like, hey, like boys should not cry, men should not cry, and like, men should not feel emotions. It's like, that's what makes us human. That's really what makes us human. And so we're just kind of like cutting off a huge part of ourselves if we don't acknowledge that and accept that. I mean, like, even going back to what Jeff said, it's like, that's a belief, right? It's like, I should not cry. I should not be angry. I should not be jealous. I should not have shame. All these beliefs that are there. So, and it's like, all of that is very conceptual, and it's like, how do we bring it back? It's like the breath. It's like, that's the one thing we can control. And so that's the thing that I work on, like, for myself. And I've seen lots of expansion with my own emotions, just doing that on my own, as well as like with other people too. And that's part of the work that I do, coaching other youth and young adults too.
Any thoughts on that before I share mine?
Yeah. I know I do some yoga and Pilates, right? And a big thing with that is breathing. But how important is breathing? Even if you're not exercising.
So the breath is so amazing. It's one of the 4 elements, right? We don't even think about that, but like, we have earth, fire, water, and air, and ether as well. But it's like we think about food, and it's like, we have that, like, we don't get out and like touch grass and like be out in nature. But like, air is actually like energy. Amy was talking about energy. It's like, controlling our breath is controlling the energy that we can bring into our system. And so if we're like, hyperventilating, it's like, yeah, no wonder the heart and the mind is going to be racing and going towards stress and anxiety. And I really resonate with what Amy said earlier of like, maybe overdiagnosis. It's like, hey, let's understand the breath a little bit more. Let's become friends with that, and actually, use that as a mechanism instead of maybe other more modern tools. Breath is the original tool, right? And so, breath is like, it's so fundamental. It's like, and we can actually really modulate our emotions based off of our breath. If we want to be more energized, there's a way we can like increase, more inhalation, right? If we want to be a little bit more calmer, we can accentuate the exhalation, and so many things in between. So we can control our breath, we can control our life.
Control our breath, control our life. I like that.
Yeah, and I love that you connected to like that, and the energetic level and the breath, the power of our breath, it connects us to our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, right? So when a lot of the trauma work, more holistic trauma work, not just trauma work, holistic work around anxiety, panic attacks, it is breath work. It is reconnect with your body work. Our body has a stress response system, and it alerts, and if it's on over alert, right? Like, that's where our kids are. A lot of the kids, like you said, Sai, about being careful about diagnosing and before we have the full picture of what's actually happening in their body. I used Nada Satana breathing, the Kundalini yoga. I was introduced to Kundalini yoga and the nasal breathing and the understanding how our nervous system works. And that was to treat PTSD. Like, there are tools that our young people don't even know exist because they're introduced to only this Western mental health system of care. But the breath, I agree 100%. And it kind of all goes together. We need breath, and we need fuel. We need clean, good food. We need fresh air. We need breath. We need to connect to our bodies. And we're so surprised that our kids are so dysregulated, because they're not getting the fresh air. They're on red food dye. And then we're giving them a pill and telling them they have ADHD.
Yeah.
Now,
Hmm.
I have to be careful as a future clinician because there's a legitimate diagnostic criteria that if you pass that, you're right. Like that's a category we're going to diagnose ADHD. But a lot of these kids, again, they're not connected to their body, and then all of a sudden everything it's like a delicate balance with the breath. Yeah.
What has been special for me today is how we set up what people. Tammy set up what people would be aired on what day before the videos were actually available for her to watch. So she's just kind of just going through this and randomly picking out and just trying to balance everything out. And yet everything was so synergetic today. It was like building upon each other. And if you watch the things and back to back to back, it's kind of like one message with different voices in the same thing. And I love that aspect of what we do here at Ignite and how that works out. So today's been a cool day, a very fun day for these things. And if you've not watched all of these, get out there and watch them. Go on this thing and watch it. And not only that, get someone to sign up that you don't know about this, signing up. So any parting thoughts as we wrap this session up and preview before I preview tomorrow?
I just want to say, James, it wasn't random. It wasn't random, right? You know, the universe works in mysterious ways. So, I saw it today, like in order, and I was like, well, we're like all kind of talking about the same thing. And who was
Yeah.
it? Was it Matt? And like a lot of his message was around like, you know, you are enough, and that self compassion. And so,
Thank you for reminding me because I got so engrossed with you guys I would have walked off and forgot about. Could you tell a little bit about what his was since you hit that one?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously I can't like share his like full story with his impact, but yeah, just like what I got from it was like the self compassion, and the the like what we tell ourselves, and that the self talk is so important, and like how like we can be the nicest people to other people, but we can be the meanest to ourselves, and a lot of times we are. And you know, some of the exercises that he had the audience go through was just like a recognition of like, yeah, like I can be mean to myself. And I think it's so nice to like leave that he left that space for everyone to like do that exercise. And then I think he left off as a call to action, right? For people to message someone that, you know, just like, hey, I'm thinking about you, or you know, love you, or whatever that message is. And so I really love his talk.
Thank you for that. Thank you for reminding me of that. This is why Tammy and Jeff are on a lot of times with me, is because I will forget what I'm doing. So any other closing thoughts from you guys on this wonderful day?
Yeah, I just want to say, encourage everybody to, if they haven't already checked out my episode, definitely check it out. At the very end, we talk about a way to connect with someone. We talked about the first step is recognize, and then there's they can screenshot the other steps, and then there's sort of a call to action for youth to. I'm collecting drawings from youth about what's kind of going on beneath the surface of their life, so it gives them a safe, judgmental place to express that, and then I kind of curate those together. So that call to action is on there as well. So I forget to mention, and I agree with everything that you guys said, that this is such a curated by the universe alignment thing, and that, you know, all of us together, like there's so many layers to wellness and our to what that looks like for each person. So I'm so honored to have the opportunity to contribute to that, and just to connect with you guys and everybody in this audience.
Yeah, it's been a powerful 3 days so far. It's only going to continue getting better. Today was great. Yesterday was great. Monday was great. And yeah, let's just continue, you know, supporting these, you know, speakers, the ones who are pouring into this world of the youth right now.
Oh yeah, we need them.
Great job and wonderful organizing this, putting all this hard work together.
Yes, thank you, Generation Youth, for all you do.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, absolutely. You know, you got to get the flowers to where they're supposed to be given, and for watering the seeds, you know, so they can grow. But also, like, you know, it goes to all along like my final point in my message was why of the daily part was you. Like everything in life starts with you, everything in life ends with you. And you owe it to yourself to be the best version you can possibly be. This world owes you nothing, but you owe yourself everything.
I
You
just
set
feel like
me
I
up-
went to church. I just went to church.
Funny thing is you guys, I've written down 4 quotes from each one of you guys that I was like, this right here, I need to figure out how to use this and steal this later in life, make it my own. What's going on here? But guys, you just set me up to do a preview for tomorrow. Tomorrow's day, we have 4 speakers instead of 5, but no less powerful. You're going to love them. Dale Alexander is one of our speakers tomorrow. If you want to know what to do with your first paycheck that you get in life, what to do to stay ahead, you need to listen to this guy. This guy has sold hundreds, I'm not making this number up, hundreds of thousands of books. On his book called The Talk, What to Do About Money. He is a world-class bestseller on this. Speaks all over the nation to youth and adults about this. But his main target is, hey, young person, you get your first check. How can you set up your life by having discipline? We got Dave talking about leadership tomorrow in a most profound way as he shares his own personal journey, leading with purpose, both in school and life. I love that we got Kira tomorrow talking about helping to create a life you love. Is that not just wonderful?
Oh, yeah.
And mine is a little bit different than Mara in that I get asked all these questions, or how do I need to restart, or I have the youth ask me these questions. So I took the 5 questions that I thought maybe needed to be answered about how do I restart this year, or is it too late for me to salvage my year? Because we're a little over halfway for most folks. So if you're struggling, if you know someone in your family is struggling in the school year, mine may be the one of these as we examine those 5 questions. Those will drop tomorrow, and then we got some special surprises for the weekend as well. So thank you guys for being a part of this, and thank you guys for being on there. If you get my friends here, we'll stay on when we end the live stream. We'll pop back on, and I'll say goodbye to you personally after it's over with. But thank you, audience, for sticking with us.